for the update.
Thank you very much, and just give me a moment to. Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to provide an update on the multiplex development. I'll take a few minutes to discuss the progress of the project, the work undertaken to date, some of the upcoming key activities, as well as an update of the overall project costing. The project is currently approximately 15% of the way through the construction process. The design team, consisting of the architectural partnership of MJMA and Teal, along with their engineering specialist sub-consultants, have completed a lot of great work since their engagement in 2022 to bring the project's vision and design forward to a point where the construction manager could be brought on board, which occurred in the fall of 2023. After some initial procurement activities for enabling works, the construction officially began in November of last year. From the beginning of this year, the design team was busy finalizing the detailed construction drawings and specifications in preparation for procurement of the required sub-trade contractors and suppliers for the project. Through the months of last winter and this spring, procurement began on the initial sub-trade packages for the building substructure, structural elements, as well as some of the key specialty packages such as the aquatics spaces and the arena ice plant components. Through the remainder of the spring and summer, procurement of the various building envelope and interior systems occurred. In total, there's been approximately 41 unique sub-trade packages and suppliers that have been issued by the construction manager, and this represents approximately 85% of the expected project procurement efforts. From a local and regional economic development perspective, 18% of the value of work committed to date is local to Miramichi contractors and trades. An additional 13% is to organizations within a 100-kilometer radius of Miramichi, and an additional 40% is to contractor and trades located elsewhere within New Brunswick. Overall, the New Brunswick sub-trade contractor component of the project to date represents a little over 81% of the total value, which is a great news for the city and the province. The expectation is that there'll be approximately 60 sub-trade contractors and suppliers engaged by the time the project is completed, in addition to the multitude of local businesses, service providers, retail stores, suppliers, and accommodations that are being used by the contractors and project team. Give a quick update on the works completed to date. The majority of the initial civil enabling works has been completed, including the rough grading on site and clearing and grubbing. The water and sanitary services and tie-ins on Leandra Street and Alexis Streets have been completed. That work has been substantially completed, including the repaving and the majority of the disruptions in those local areas, and they'll continue to extend those lines further up on the multiplex site. There was a lot of coordination with the city's Public Works Department to make sure that those happened as well, so appreciate that. MB Power has installed their utility lines on the site and are working on energizing the temporary service in the coming days, which will get the project site off generator power. Building foundations and exterior footings have all been completed, and the elevator shaft has been constructed. In terms of the aquatics hall, we have our competition and leisure pool both well underway. Both pool walls, floors, and basins are all complete. They're currently being prepped for leak testing, and then we'll go through a winterizing process before the winter sets in. Underground plumbing and electrical has all been installed in the universal change room areas, and work is ongoing in the remainder of the pool area in terms of the plumbing and HVAC ventilation systems. The image on the right shows the ongoing installation of the 5-foot diameter subgrade air supply. That's going to supply fresh air into the pool area at a very low level to keep the chlorine smell down close to the surface of the pool. It will be buried underground, so it's a significant effort to get that installed. In terms of the arena is one of the earlier areas to focus on in terms of construction activities as a result of some of the scheduling obligations or requirements to get some of the large elements into the arena prior to the steel being erected. So the precast bleacher fabrication was completed in St. John a little while ago, and the individual elements have been sent to site. Each one of the elements that you see there is just that. It's a single piece. These have been set in place over a 2-week period in October prior to the arena steel being erected. In addition to the precast bleachers, the underground ice plant lines have been installed to the rink floor, and those will be extended in the future once the rink floor is ready to be poured. Underground plumbing and electrical has all been installed throughout the team room areas and the other arena spaces. The image on the right that you see is the home team room, and the image on the image on the left is the home team room. The image on the right is one of the standard team rooms, and you'll notice the cutout in the precast wall. That's to allow a connection between the two team rooms should a larger space be required, or it can be separated for individual team rooms. In terms of upcoming work, next week we're excited to see the first steel being erected on site. The first shipment of steel on this MQM truck arrived yesterday, carrying the first load of arena trusses. These trusses are approximately 10 feet deep and need to be shipped in 3 sections and assembled on site because of the size to span the arena, and they'll be installed using 3 cranes hoisting them into place simultaneously. We're expecting to see more columns and trusses shipping every day this week, and steel erection will start next week, focused on the lobby, the center of the building, working towards the west, the left side of the image that you see here through the arena. Columns are expected to be completed within about 10 days in that area, and then the roof trusses will be installed starting the week following that. Once the arena and lobby steel are completed, the remainder of the steel throughout the gymnasium, multi-purpose area, and aquatics hall will be installed. Following that will go the metal and NLT roofing, which is expected to be on the arena portion by the end of the year. And then once we have a roof on, we'll be able to start working on the building envelope through the winter and spring, getting the building ready to be enclosed and weather tight, which will then transition late spring into the interior trades, such as building slabs, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC being able to start their work inside of the building. Based on the progress to date, the project continues to be on schedule and is expected to be completed on time in September 2026. In terms of a project cost update, the last construction estimate that was done was prior to the majority of the procurement that occurred over the start and through the middle of this year. At that time, the construction cost included approximately $76 million for the building and the overall site development, professional fees of $4.6 million, city-owned FF&E, that's your furniture, your computers, your screens, at around $650,000, with a net project cost of $81.9 million pre-tax and $85.4 million estimated after tax. As per all of the previous construction estimates that were provided, the inflation contingency was not included in this because of it remained highly variable and unpredictable across the industry. In terms of our current cost update, now that we're, as I mentioned, approximately 85% through the procurement of the project, our construction cost updates are the building and site combined around $88.8 million, professional fees at $4.9 million, FF&E at $673,000. For a net project pre-tax cost of $94.4 million, and with tax, $98.5 million. So as anticipated in this inflationary environment, we've seen an increase in the construction costs since the pre-tender estimates. The increase represents approximately 15% over this time period. It's not unexpected, as both the inflationary pressures and the unprecedented busyness of the construction industry are impacting projects across the province, the region, and the country. Considering the inflationary pressures, Stats Canada monitors the construction industry inflation and have identified, again, the Moncton region remains as one of the top 3 inflationary locations within the country. And as you extend outside of the urban areas, that inflationary pressure remains greater than those urban areas. The impacts on this project due to inflation alone are estimated in the 5% range over the time period from the previous estimate until today. In terms of the construction industry availability, the industry is experiencing record high demand across the New Brunswick region and the country. The impacts of this on the Multiplex have been reduced competition on price and fewer qualified bidders pursuing some of the work, because these contractors are already at high levels of engagement and working close to where their businesses are located. While we've generally seen increases across the entire project, there have been a few specific subtrades that have seen more significant impacts. These include our structural steel, HVAC, and drywall steel stud as some of the more impacted ones, and they account for approximately $10 million in additional cost. So combining both the inflationary pressures and the 3 or 4 subtrades that have seen higher than anticipated increases makes up the balance of the $13 million increase that we've seen over the last year. The reality of the industry right now is that the majority of projects across the region and country are seeing significant increases in costs. In recreation building types specifically, there are a couple of regional examples that we can compare ourselves against that are procuring work on similar timelines. The Riverview Recreation Facility has recently gone through procurement. Their facility includes 2 pools, change area, public space, small fitness center, very similar to the Multiplex, less the arena. Their project costs have seen an increase from an anticipated $39 million to over $60 million, an increase of over 54% in the same time frame. And yesterday there was information released on the Yarmouth Mariners Center, who are doing an expansion to their arena facility by adding 2 pools, 25-meter competition pool, leisure pool, small fitness space, and change rooms. Again, very similar to one significant component of this building. They've seen their costs increase from an anticipated $29 million to over $38 million in that same time period, increase of almost 30%. The common causes are common across all the projects, and they are inflation and availability of trade contractors continuing to increase construction costs. That said, the city's project team has been constantly working closely with the various subtrades, the city's recreation staff, the design team, to consider cost-saving strategies that maintain the desired look, quality, performance, functionality, energy performance, and durability of the building. To date, there have been well over $3 million in savings realized through these proactive discussions with the various parties. And happy to take any questions or dive into more detail if anybody would like to hear more.
Thanks,
Just,
Mr. McLeod. Yeah, Councillor King.
thank you, Your Worship. Tim, on that, thanks for the presentation. On the metal part, when we order the metal part for the roofs and stuff like that, do we order that ahead before adjustments to the metal go up? And why should they go up when we order them like today, and 2 weeks down the road they're gone up again another $1 million?
Yes, so great question. We had a couple of instances early on in the project where the steel sub-trade contractor indicated that there may be price increases coming from the mills that are, they don't control the price of steel. and needed to ensure that they could move forward with the design as is, that there weren't changes coming. So we worked with the design team and the steel contractor proactively, actually like day to day, week to week during that period, to ensure that there was confidence in the detail of the design for them to order the material that they needed before any price increases had taken hold. The balance of their contract is a fixed price with the construction manager. So any escalation in steel price is not currently the responsibility of the city to manage. If steel changes, the subtrade contractor will have to carry that. If there are changes to the contract or the scope, then obviously that's a negotiation that neither party was anticipating. Does that answer your question?
Thanks, Councillor King. I do believe as well that the treasurer sort of has some additional information. So obviously it's unideal, although not entirely expected, that costs would increase in this inflationary environment. Meaning, though, at the end of the day, this is going to be $13 million more than we thought it was and that we planned for. Madam Treasurer, I believe you have some thoughts around how the city will approach securing or planning for